industries can scrape it off. They could scrape it off, meaning that they can now could put it on their site. So that's why we're suing Pornhub, because we have some clients that were victims of human trafficking, because there is an intersectionality. I'm not saying everybody that's, featured in pornography are victims of human trafficking, but what I am saying that there are some that are forced into pornography by their pimps. That person asked that her videos be taken down, and they wouldn't. That's why we're.
Go ahead.
So that's the reason why they're doing that. That's why we are making those lawsuits. But here's the thing that goes more in direct answer to your question. One of the things that we are hitting really hard is demand, because behind every trafficker, there's a buyer. So we always have these conversations about human trafficking. We talk about the victim in terms of awareness and prevention. We talk about the traffickers need to have life sentences, but we don't talk about the people that are buying other human beings for their own sexual pleasure. What about that? And when we start getting into those conversations, it is sometimes shut down because of some of the people that are buying others, because the bottom line is those that have disposable income.
Right. So wait, I want Tara to tell me who these buyers are, because I heard Tara talk about these buyers. Tara, talk to us. Who are some of these people that are buying?
All kinds of folks.
It is all kinds of folks. She said it. We one of the things that pre-COVID, we participate in sting operations so that we can provide victim services. And so with law enforcement, what they do is they set up sting operations. This is with the LA County Sheriff's Department out in Compton. We would participate. And so their goal is to identify the buyer, identify the trafficker, and then if there are any victims. And so we were there for the victims, and they would bring the victims and the buyers, everybody together into one space. And I cannot begin to tell you, I saw men in gas company uniforms that had pulled over during lunch to, buy sex, didn't realize it was a decoy or, she was a minor. He got picked up a part of the sting operation. We saw men one guy pulled over, he had 2 car seats in the back of his car and his 2 babies in the back of his car. So they, of course, detained the babies. I believe they called DCFS or the mother. There were pastors. There were regular, everyday people. And people always ask me all the time, well, who are the men that buy women for sex? It's everybody that we know. It's the deacon. It's the athlete. It's the, pastor, it's the city councilman. It's right. It's big game. You go to the strip club. Depending on what city you go in, if it's a higher end strip club, you have men from corporations, attorneys and judges and doctors, and then down here in, South LA, I live right not too far from where we work. I mean, I'm from Figueroa, and I see the cars that are pulling up, and not everybody that pull over are African-American. Not everybody's Latino, it's a wide array of nice cars and men looking to buy sex. From girls on the street.
And if I could add to that, so I worked Vice. My last assignment, I was in charge of a Vice unit. So I would do these type of things, and I would put out because we worked undercover. I put out undercover female officers, and I have arrested everything from a sergeant on his way to the hospital to police officers, pastors, to the gardener. So she's absolutely right. And majority of the men that I arrested were married. Mm-hmm. It was not uncommon. She's absolutely right, where they would have their kids in a car seat and they're trying to pick up on a girl who happens to be an officer, but he's thinking that it's someone who is selling sex. So you're absolutely correct. And let me just, I got to tell you guys this this one story. We arrest this guy and we arrest him. We bring him back to the station. About an hour later, his wife comes to the station. She says, hey, I'm looking for Joe Blow because I want to do a missing report. And she has her church members with her. We think Joe Blow is gone. We want to do a missing report. Well, what happened to Joe Blow? Well, Joe Blow said he was going to the store to get some what? Milk. Well, on his way, he got a little distracted. So they come back and they tell me, hey, Sarge, Joe Blow's wife is up here wanting to do a missing report. I said, let me handle it and let her know. You know, the good news is Joe Blow ain't missing because he's back there in handcuffs because I just arrested him for trying to pick up someone who he thought was in prostitution. I just had to share that story. I wanted to drive it on home.
Oh, you drove that one home. And we remember
great.
the show that was out a few years ago, To Catch a Predator. I mean,
Yeah.
it showed,
Right.
I mean,
right.
it,
That's right.
and you even had some people that got arrested and was on national TV and crying and got busted again on a whole nother sting operation.
On a whole
No.
nother one.
Right,
And some of them were even going after minors and they knew they were minors.
right.
But before we go forward, I see your hand over there, Ms. Colette. What you got
Okay.
to say?
Couple of things, but too many for me to say all of them, so I'm just going to say something. And Tara, that was Brian Williams who did that show,
Yes.
and he was busting men right and
Oh,
left.
no,
And
that
most
wasn't
of
Brian
the-
Williams. That was Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen.
Chris
Yeah.
Hansen.
Okay, Chris Hansen. Okay, and he was busting folks right and left. But the other thing that I wanted to say is I worked at Crenshaw High School, and we had to constantly encourage girls. You can't do this. You can't go out. You cannot do this. You cannot be out on your own. You're not ready. You're not capable. You cannot do this. And I had one girl in particular. I do not know whatever happened to her from the time she left and the state of California emancipated her and let her go on her own at 16 and told her that she was ready to be emancipated. And she left. And Mr. Sanko and I and one of the other officers, we continued to try to find out where the girl was. Her roommate told her that she was ready to go to the street. And that was the last time we heard. And she went to the street because her roommate told her she was ready to go. And she went. And one of the things, do you know Rachel Thompson? Okay,
Really?
Yes. we know.
okay. I had a group in Pasadena, and Rachel Thompson came up to speak to the girls. To hear her story, it's heartbreaking. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. But what do we do? And I don't want to say that we don't know what to do. I want to say I saw on Channel 7 that there was a news conference out at SoFi Stadium, and the authorities from the city of LA went to SoFi and they talked about trafficking because the dumbass Super Bowl game is getting ready to start. And they know that men from all over the world are coming to LA. And there are some folks, and I see you, Stephanie, there's some folks that are coming with a whole bunch of money because somebody's going to send him a young girl, any girl, and he's going to buy some girls because Super Bowl is all week long. How do we stop that? How do we stop that? Because we know it's going to happen.
Colette, we're going to let them answer because we only have about 15 minutes and that was going to be our next part. So Stephanie and Tara, talk to us about Super Bowl and the work that you're doing.
I'm gonna let Tara take that one and I'll follow up on her.
So Stephanie, Stephanie and I, we're in the trenches of some things right now, seriously. And so let me back up. So we are a part of a group of local organizations that are responsible for the coordination of services during the Super Bowl. And so we have about 13 of us have come together and we've looked at every area where we're needed. And so we have a team that's setting up for emergency housing. We have emergency transportation. We're able to, if a girl is brought here from another state, we can get her back. So we are providing ground and air transportation. We have a team of trauma specialists that will be at a non-disclosed location. So if there is a rescue, so that we can get her back, help her, and then get her back to where she belongs. But the other thing is that there has been such a coordinated effort locally. And I just want to give a shout out to the local nonprofits that fight human trafficking, that are, there are 11 outreaches that have been scheduled for the streets, motel, and strip clubs. And I mean, we had a training on Saturday, over 100 people were there at the training, and they're just ready. And, and so Colette, to your point, we are doing something about it as local nonprofits. The problem is we're local nonprofits. And so we need our political officials, we need our community partners to get behind the work that we are doing. Because when the Super Bowl is over, we're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. Because guess what's coming on top of the Super Bowl? We have the World Cup, we have the Olympics, and we have every other major sporting event, not including, we're talking about SoFi, but we're not talking about the things that's going to be happening at the Forum. So these small band of soldiers have got together, and we're saying, we're going to be here in response to what's happening in our community. We're not running away. We're not going to. So the way that we can stop this is we need corporations who care about community to get behind these organizations. We need people who say that they care to find these organizations to donate money to. You know why? Because we're doing it on a shoestring budget. We cannot compete with these national groups. We are local nonprofits who love our community, who believe in our girls, and who are working. You have no idea, that Stephanie will tell you the number of hours we're putting in right now, and the coordination of services, just that alone, not including any rallies or activities that we want to do. Why? Because we care. We live in this community, and we're going to serve the community. So I would love to tell you that, it's going to miraculously go away, but it's not. As long as there's a demand, there's going to be traffickers who will facilitate the sale of these girls. But there's also groups of people that are ready to help them when and if they need to be helped.
Let me just wait. I'm sorry.
If the city is there doing a press conference and talking about this, then it's big, big, big.
And let me just be very clear. We don't need people to just donate money. We need a mass infusion, a mass investment of finances that are going to, and I don't mean to I'm not trying to put down big organizations, but big organizations close their door at 5 o'clock. We are still on the streets working at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning to make it happen. So we need major organizations. And I'm talking about Netflix, I'm talking about Hulu, I'm talking about all of the major investment banking companies and everyone else to reach into their pockets and write these big long checks so that we can have what do you call that? Operating costs? What's the word?
Program expensive operating costs. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So Stephanie, I know you were going to say something.
Where do I even start? I see these nonprofits that I'm talking about, the grassroots ones, who are barely keeping their lights on, but they're still pressing forward. And you're right. I see others that they shut their doors at 5 o'clock. But let me give you another example. And who were the true warriors is when COVID came in. I called some organizations. I'm talking about at the very beginning, they had shut down. Now I can only speak for when I was running Journey Out. I took it upon myself. I didn't even ask my employees. And I dragged my daughter with me. But we put on a face shield. We had masks on. We still went down Figueroa, and we were still doing outreach, and we were giving information on COVID. We were giving them the little disposable temperatures, telling them when they needed to go to the hospital, giving them masks. And this is what I told the staff, my staff then. I said, this is when we do the real work. Because if we don't go out there and do the people and help the people that we say we serve, Nobody's going to do it. And I'll tell you, when we were out there on Figueroa, I had this one young lady say to me, I didn't think anybody cared. Thank you. And
We
so
got-
you're right. Those nonprofits were still out there doing the work and putting themselves in danger, because if we didn't do it, nobody else was. And you're right. There were some organizations, they didn't open up for months.
Right. And I can say this, Tara, Forgotten Children, Positive Results, we didn't close. We have been in the trenches. I don't know what Tara's number is. I know it's gone up, but we saw a 500% increase in the people that we served during COVID.
And what we did, we noticed, our numbers went up. I don't know the exact percentage, but hotlines were not being answered. And so there were so many people that were calling us saying that I called a hotline at 3 a.m. and they didn't answer. Or one girl says she called I'm not going to call the name of the organization, and they told her the case manager would call her right back when it was, I think it was during a rainy time, right when COVID first hit, and they never called her back. And so when, to your point, Candy, you know, unfortunately, I just feel like we don't have a choice. Like, I don't know how people can say they serve a population of people and then shut their doors and go home and be warm with their family when you have on your website, you tell people this is what you do, these are the hours that you keep, and you 24/7. And then at 3 a.m, nobody can get in touch with you. And I just stand by the integrity and character of our organization. Our staff will tell you, if we say we do it, we show up for it. I believe in just being a person of integrity and character. And so if we can't do it, I will at least let her know, you know, I can't help you today, but here's what, we've cashed out girls' money. Girls have called us because they were in their room. They had enough for the room, but didn't have enough for food. And we'll send money for pizza. We don't go through the whole, the intake form to find out, are you being tracked? She called the hotline and she was hungry. That was enough for me.
That's it. Somebody called me just last week. They were dropped here by bus. Now was a man, and he was homeless. And somebody found him and they knew me. So they contacted us and they're like, what do I do? So I called, they said, well, we're going to call 211. I said, it's 10:30, you'll get nothing. So I gave them the shelters. The shelters were all closed because of COVID. So I contacted a hotel by them, paid for this person to stay in a room, made sure that they had food. And this is 10:30 at night, I'm answering my phone. But what happens is you have a lot of other organizations that you said that I said earlier, they close at 5. They might be closed at 3 o'clock and they're not serving you. And, we just have to show up, but we need other people to show up for us. And Tara, you weren't here when I said earlier, the question is, does anybody really care? And we got to make sure that we aren't the only ones that care, because honestly, we could all fall out from exhaustion. We've got to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. We only have 6 minutes left. So what I want you all to do is to make sure that you're putting your information in the chat line. I went on Facebook Live, and I want to thank Darlene and Deborah for joining us, because they were on Facebook and some other people were on. And this is also going to be put on, it's live right now on YouTube. We will be putting this on Facebook and Instagram. So not only put it in your chats, but before we leave, I like everybody to know how to reach you. But I want Stephanie and Tara, I would like you both to take 2 minutes and give us a tool, a tip, or something that people will be able to say. Maybe they'll be able to talk to their child or their sister or brother about this. Maybe you can give them a sign on what to look for. And most importantly, when we see the men and the women and the boys and girls on the street, why it's important not to just go up to them and think you're going to be able to rescue them.
I think I'd like to start off with the prevention piece of this. And remember when we first started off, I said that pimps will look for an avenue or a gap and they will fill the gap in order for that person to feel whole. I think that we're living in a society where more than ever, and I'll talk about women, are seen as objects in terms of entertainment. And then you add on the social media component, that if you don't look a certain way, or if you're not loved, then you're not really important. So it goes back to an insecurity of how we see ourselves. I think what we need to do is tell our young people, boys and girls, you are enough. Because see, if you think that you're enough, you don't need someone else from the outside to tell you that. And it's those that don't feel like enough that leave themselves vulnerable and at risk to do anything that they need to do in order for that person to tell them that they're enough. So I think that that is an important start.
Thank you, Stephanie. Can you also give us real quick your contact information? Let people hear it because it's also being recorded.
Yes, I put it in the chat. It's my email address is spowell@ncoselaw.org. And I'm with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Our website is insexualexploitation.org.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you. Tara, come on and bring it on home for us.
I just want to say, if you see something, do something. I don't, as Candy mentioned, do not get out of the car trying to snatch somebody and put them in your car. But you can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and that number is 888-373-7888. Right, Stephanie? 373-7888. National Human Trafficking Hotline, or you can call Crime Stoppers. The other thing is I want to say is that all of us know someone locally in the public office. We need to engage our local politicians that we voted to put in office, especially for those whose districts are right on those what we consider to be hot zones, and really call them out. Ask them what are they doing. And we also need to have conversations about how we talk about community safety and health safety. Well, this is a community safety issue, and we need to make sure that we keep our community safe. And lastly, Stephanie mentioned, but I also want to speak to parents. Pay attention to your children, pay attention to your daughters and your sons, know who their friends are, pay attention to if she's going out with new friends that you don't know. I know we live in a time where, people a little bit more free. I'm an old school parent. I still kick indoors, ask questions. Question your children about where they're going. Get phone numbers. Talk to the parents. Know where your kids are going. And lastly, there's an app called Life 360. Get it, parents. Have your kids sign up. It will track them. It will make sure that you know where they are at all times.
Thank you so much, Tara. Tara, tell us again how to reach you.
Yes, I can be reached Tara at FCI, that's F as in Frank, C as in cat, I as in igloo, -la.org, or you can visit us at www.fci-la.org, or give us a call you can call me directly, 310-871-6594.
Thank you so much. I want to thank also Stephanie and Tara for joining us. For all of our guests, you have put some incredible information in the chat. Darlene, thank you so much for the Omni Community Alliance. And then also I saw the ambassador to Compton, Carson area, Los Angeles, Southwest Community College. I'm Candy Lewis, and I am the CEO of Positive Results Center. And this is a story to tell. I need you to tell someone else. The more people we tell, the more people we can engage, the more people's lives we can save. And I appreciate you. You can reach us at prc123.org or back here every other Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. for a story to tell. Thank you very much, and blessings to you all.
Great. Thank you, Candy. Thank you, Stephanie and Tara, Violet, Deborah, and Darlene. Thank you so much. And also Daisy Newsom, Candy's mother. Thank you for being with us right here on the Intentional Talk Radio Network. And as Candy said, you can get this on all of your favorite podcast platforms. It is on YouTube. It will be on Facebook. We're spreading the word. So folks, stay tuned right here. Keep it tuned to itrnradio.com. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. And we'll
you.
see you next time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Andy, thank you.